Welcome to Resubbed, a World of Warcraft podcast for casual players. This is episode 1. Thanks for joining us if you are, and thanks for listening if you are. But yeah, I'm joined here with my good friends Hedge and Michelle, and we are just 3 friends who love playing World of Warcraft. So if you are looking for a podcast that goes deep into statistics, goes into number crunching, and goes into figuring out what the best strategies are for whatever the latest tier raid boss, you're in the wrong spot. We are not that at all. We are super filthy casuals because we're all parents now. We all love this game, but we, as parents do, have very limited time to play. But that's not going to stop us from paying our subscription over and over again, especially now during pandemic and COVID time, which is actually the reason why I got back into playing WoW after taking a little bit of break. So just a little backstory for me. I'm Raymond. Nice to meet you. I've been playing World of Warcraft since it started all the way back in vanilla, but not consistently. Definitely taking large gaps in between, probably bigger and bigger gaps as the years have gone by. But I have played through every expansion up until this point. I wasn't planning on playing BFA, or at least coming back to BFA, because I started there when it came out and then kind of dropped off quickly. I don't think I even made it to the first expansion, or not the first expansion, the first patch. I never made it to the first major patch. I just kind of stopped playing on the horror side. But, well, getting stuck indoors for months at a time kind of makes you want to entertain yourself. So I started up I resubbed again and started an alliance player with my buddy here, Hedge, on his server, which was actually, in retrospect, probably the best move because I got to play through content that I had never seen before of the same game. So that was pretty cool. So it felt fresh to me. But yeah, like I said, filthy casual. I only play this game probably an hour block chunks throughout the week. It's hard to find time to just sit there and grind out multiple mythic dungeons, much less actually it's hard enough to just do like the emissary quest sometimes. So Hedge, what about you? What's your story and history with WoW?
So I remember when it first came out, I bought the game and I bought like the guidebook and everything. I installed it on my shitty Dell computer. It wasn't mine, it was like the family computer. And then I wasn't aware that you had to pay a subscription fee, and I was 14. So I don't make any money. And then I was like trying to like beg my dad or my mom, like, could you pay like $10 or whatever it is a month? They're like, no way. So I ended up having to sell the game to somebody else. And then I didn't start playing again until 2008, like right before Wrath of the Lich King came out. Mm-hmm. And then I played that until a little before Cataclysm. And then I did not come back until this past September. My boss gave me a little gift card thing for Blizzard to re-up my subscription.
That's a good boss.
And for Classic, yeah. So I was really into Classic for a while. And then I was like, you know what? I should try regular WoW, because at the time everybody was saying how much better Classic was than resale WoW, and I was like, it can't be that bad. I ended up playing it. I was like, wow, I can, because like you were saying, you can't play for more than an hour or so at a time. I can't sit there for hours on end doing one dungeon. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm doing now.
Awesome. Yeah, pretty much we're all in the similar boats there. Dude, Classic. Mm-hmm. I think you and I dabbled in Classic for a hot second.
Tried
early on, when it released. And God, what a nightmare!
It's like, oh, we're on a different server. Never mind.
It wasn't even like we're on a
I'm not re-rolling.
We were suddenly in a not fun game.
It's like, oh,
we went from having a great time to what are we doing to ourselves to hating ourselves.
Yeah. No, it was like it's like a abusive relationship.
It really is. I mean, and honestly, and we're probably gonna talk about this in the future too, just like how different the Classic experience is now versus the present experience when it wasn't Classic, when it was just World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
And we had all the time in the world to put up with that nonsense. And how, what is it, 10 years later? like how much better
15.
15 years later, how much better the game is, to the point of almost unrecognizability. But Michelle, you and I have played Warcraft in the past, but tell us more specifically about
before I tell you more, someone wants to say goodnight.
Oh, who wants to say goodnight?
You know, you mentioned we're parents, right?
Yep. And the reason why we can't play.
Good night.
Good night, buddy.
Good night.
All right. That was my intro.
That's a good intro.
Okay.
Says it all.
So I played since vanilla. I raided. I was in 40-man hardcore raids. Did all that. Spent 24 hours playing, I think. Pretty sure I didn't sleep for a very long time.
Yep.
And then after raiding with one of the top guilds on our server, I ended up transferring to a different server and then starting my own guild. And we became hardcore for a really long time. And I think that's when you came in the picture, when we kind of started slowing down a little bit, right?
Right. When it became my speed, that's when I showed
When it became your speed is when you started playing, yeah. But before that, we were like, we had hard modes, 10-man and 25-man, and like, it was, we had, dungeons on farm. But for a long time, it was hard because you were on Illidan, and Illidan was a full server.
Oh, not taking any more. Yeah.
Oh God, it took us hours to log on, and some people couldn't log on, and we were lagging in game, and it was tough. So we took our whole guild and transferred back to Bone Chewer, and so spent a lot of money there. But then I quit. I don't even know when I quit.
We all quit at some point. And then
at some point I quit, and then Raymond says, "Come on, well, why don't you play?" And here I am.
Yeah.
I'm a diehard Horde fan, but I am now Alliance with my baby mage.
I did that on purpose. I was diehard Horde for so many years, but I purposely wanted to swap over to Alliance. I'm glad Hedge was playing Alliance too, just because I didn't know anybody was playing Alliance at this point. I actually didn't know too many people. Like, a lot of people dropped off, but that's a whole different episode in and of itself. Like how
oh god, yeah,
it's almost like a where are they now thing. Like all these people I used to play with all the time, like a rating. But what was I saying was that I shoot, what was I just talking about? I just lost my train of thought.
The Horde Alliance thing.
Oh, the Horde Alliance, yes. I'm glad that I played Alliance because it almost feels like it's a different personality now. Like this is that, like back then, when I was younger and a full head of hair, that was my Horde. Now that I'm more mature now, and I appreciate a quiet, peaceful neighborhood, I'm the Alliance side of things. I'm older and wiser, but it has actually kind of like, it makes me feel different about my characters, if that makes sense at all. And like kind
it
of
is
like
definitely different
because it's like I play a paladin now, which I had never played previously before, but like my previous characters were a hunter to start off. I was probably in vanilla the worst hunter ever. I did not know how to play my class, and I was a guy that would roll on the stuff that the total hunt. I was a hunter weapon meme where I would roll on stuff that did not belong to me. It just looked cooler, or was a better or was from a better dungeon than my previous one.
Which one was a Death Espresso?
Oh,
was that a warrior?
No, that one was a rogue.
Yeah,
rogue. So when I was with you
yeah.
playing raiding in your guild, I was a rogue at the time. Like that was undead, but I had started. But in between that, oh, actually no, I lied. In between that was an Alliance character. Was actually the one that I was most hardcore raiding with was a dwarf warrior. But so all of these were all melee. I think I realized early on that like not range, but like casting and stuff was really boring. And I just like hitting stuff. That the feeling of hitting stuff is pretty cool. But I always wanted to play a paladin. But I felt like every single time expansion was like, oh, don't play a paladin, they suck in this. Like I always kept hearing that paladin sucked in every single expansion, and it always deterred me from playing. But then I'm so glad I rolled this one. And surprisingly, I rolled protection the entire time. Like I start off as Ret. But then switched early on to protection. I guess not the entire time, and found that was way funner than Ret and D, because it's just like you just sit there and nothing kills you, and all these things are like wailing on you, and just like no, you just take all these hits. But the point I'm trying to make was I don't know if there was a point to that. But what are you playing? Like Hedge, let me ask you, what were you playing? What do you play mostly? Because you're kind of like, well, I guess you and Michelle are like both kind of alt crazy, altaholics for sure. But what's your main right now?
So the story with coming back to retail, I bought BFA, and when you bought BFA, you got like a 110 character boost, and I always really liked Death Knights because I stopped playing when Wrath of the Lich King came out, and I played Warcraft 3, and like I really liked the whole story of Arthas and then the whole Death Knight like aesthetic. I thought it was really cool, so I was like, I'm gonna make a Death Knight, and that's who I played with through all of BFA pretty much, like as my main. And then I realized like I don't really like Death Knights that much. So I'm starting to like it more. No, like I don't know. I just didn't like it. Wasn't fun. It's not that fun for me. Mm-hmm. Just like the gameplay.
Got it.
So yeah, like you said, I am an altaholic. I made that paladin Rick Sanchez as a the whole purpose of making him was just to farm stuff, because at the time I was really trying to get the long boy mount, which is not going to happen now.
Yeah, it's too much, man. And the economy.
It's insane. It's completely insane. Like even if you spent money on like gold, you'd end up paying like $800 real money just to get that amount of gold.
So even if you
because it's like I don't remember the Brutosaur, the like.
Oh God, that one. Yeah. God.
5 million gold, which is insane. Like it's just not gonna happen.
But it's kind of
cool. So that's why I made him. But then I realized like I really like Paladin. Like I really like, and I've always liked Paladins too. Like my classic character was a Paladin. But it's hard to say who my main is now. I guess the Death Knight's still my main because I've done everything with him.
Gotcha.
But
yeah, I think it's kind of cool because going into Shadowlands, like with either Death Knight or a Paladin, it's kind of a cool storyline wise. Like it makes sense. Like that's pretty cool. Like they belong there. Mm-hmm. Michelle, what are you playing right now in BFA, and why?
Why?
What?
Why? After I dragged
what am I not playing
into the WoW addiction, to the WoW habit? Why did I?
So I would randomly log in and just kind of check out and see what people were doing and stuff, but then I wasn't really playing as much, and now you have me like hooked.
It's not me, it's the game. There's something about the way that our brains are wired that this makes sense to us. Like something about it, and they got us. Maybe because they got us early on when we were like young, and our brains were more susceptible to stuff, and they got like drugs. They hooked us on when we were young. But having said that, I still play games like other games outside of WoW, but there's always something about WoW that feels comfortable.
I mean, like, so my mage that I transferred to our server is my first character ever that I made.
Really?
And she's my very first. And it was kind of one of those things where it's like when someone tells you like, oh, you can't be top DPS, only like rogues are top DPS right now, or hunters are top DPS right now. I like would challenge myself to be top DPS, and I was always top 3, if not the top DPS ever.
So that's the game you play.
That's the game I play.
Gotcha. I'm
very competitive, and I don't know if when you and I started raiding if I was still yelling.
No, you're still yelling for sure.
Okay. I definitely don't do that anymore. But I think the mage is my favorite, but my paladin is like my second favorite. So
dude, see, all of us paladins, man. Those paladins are dope. How come we don't all just do dungeons on paladins?
I think I was healing you before, right? Did I heal you with
I think the last one we all went.
Well, I was using the priest.
The
holy
right.
priest.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never tried healing paladin. Was that fun? Because I know you're hitting stuff at the same time.
I am. Yes.
I am. What do you think, Hedge? You play probably more.
What?
A healing paladin? Yeah, the Healadin. How's that playing in BFA for you? or do you ever?
Oh no, I tried it, and then like I felt bad, so I just
That's exactly
left the group because I was like, everybody's dying, like I suck at this, and I'm just making it hard for them. So I'm just gonna stop.
That is 100% what happens to me. I go through one dungeon just feeling awful.
I was like, this isn't for me.
I remember I was actually doing a time walking with her, and the tank kept dying, and I knew it wasn't me because I was like, I've been healing this whole time like other tanks, and this tank is just dying nonstop, and I don't know why, and he's blaming me the whole time, and I'm like, this guy. I was so mad. I didn't want to say anything. I was just like quiet the whole time, but he's like, why? He kept making comments. I think he was a demon hunter, and he was pissing me off because he kept blaming me for his deaths. But that's the only time, like, when people start blaming healers, I get really angry, and then I'm like, I don't want to heal anymore.
Yeah, well, that makes that because the healing I don't understand. For all these years, every single time I've tried to heal, I remember I had a shaman at one point. I tried to heal with him for a bit, not like hardcore healing, but just enough to. I'd keep a set of healing gear just so I can queue in sometimes, just to get past the long queue times as a healer. But it's never fun. Any kind of class I've ever tried healing with is like that game. Keeping people alive is not fun for me. It's too stressful, which is why I can't deal with the stress, and which is weird because I like tanking because I feel like the only thing I have to do is just move here and there and hit the guy the entire time. And it's all the healers. It's all the pressure on the healers to keep me alive. I'm like, oh, see, I moved. I did my part. And so if I die, it's all your fault.
Healing is fun sometimes. Like, I don't mind it, but then it gets boring.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. It's like the best case. So that's it. There's like no reward for me other than people live. So the game, the reward to healing to me is the game continues. Like, and that's it. There's no other like, oh yay, we got through that. Huzzah. Now that's not to say that I'm not appreciative of good healers, because I love when I get good healers, because you don't even like it just keeps the whole dungeon or instance flowing the entire time.
Right.
But I don't know. Yeah. So hey, healers, if you're listening to this, please tell us why you like healing. Hedge, do you like healing at all ever?
I like being like needed.
Yes.
I have a weird thing like that. Like, I appreciate when people are like, oh, thank you, like, or whatever,
I need to be.
But I'm really bad at it, and at the same time, the responsibility scares me.
Yeah.
Like, it makes me nervous, and I'm like, why am I getting nervous? Like, this is supposed to be fun.
That's
like, but being a monk, to me, has been, like, the easiest experience as a healer.
Oh, really? I haven't tried it yet.
I've never.
I mean, once I can't remember what level you get to, but eventually you get a talent, or not a talent, but you get this ability that lets you use a jade statue, and that automatically heals whoever you have targeted, and like any other healing spell you cast, it like supercharges it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
maybe I should try a monk healer. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a monk?
I don't have a monk. That's a class that I've never ever tried on.
It's real. Like, if you were to level one right now, it's like
Windwalking monk. You level fast.
Windwalking. Yeah. But what's the healing spec? Is that Mistweaver?
Mistweaver.
Yes.
Okay. What's the tank spec? Is there a tank?
Brewmaster.
Yeah.
Brewmaster. Yeah. See, I have no idea. Which is fun. Funny to me to think, because my favorite expansion feeling wise is probably Mists of Pandaria. Like, just playing through those levels, it feels like, especially because since we've all leveled new alts, like since for the whole expansion started, playing through, once you hit Mists of Pandaria, it doesn't feel as much of a slog anymore as getting up to that point. Like, I hate playing through the Cataclysm for the most part, just because it's like boring. I absolutely hate playing through Burning Crusade, and then also Wrath of Lich King is okay, but it gets repetitive after a while because the quests are super grindy. But once you get to miss, it feels like you're actually just kind of playing in a fantasy world at that point, and it feels like lots easier. But with that said, there's like pandas everywhere and monks everywhere, and I never got the inclination to play like a monk. But hey, let me just change gears real quick because I wanted to talk about, Michelle, you went from being a hardcore guild master and raid leader to, a filthy casual like me. But but at the same time, there's parts of you that are not going to give, like, you wanting to be the top of the DPS no matter what and taking it as a personal challenge. So how do you work? Like, how does that play now? So since I guess what I'm saying is, like, you went from leading a bunch of people and yelling at them to be good at raids to now just yelling at yourself on a personal level. So like, how's your approach to this game changed over the years?
So when you log on to WoW and it says something like, it'll say something like, go outside or take a break or something. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, sometimes it'll say, I think it says something like
at the beginning. I say, my business, Blizzard.
And it's funny. So at first I would read that. I'm just like, whatever, like, WoW is life. But then after a while, it's like, you think about it. And especially for me, I was on all the time, like 24/7, had to be there for talking to officers all day, every day, talking about, like, studying raids. I would study bosses every night.
Watching videos.
Yeah, watching videos, and, like, especially for hard modes, like, trying to get that down. And it's like your life kind of just, you're just wasting your time on a game, and you're not enjoying life. You're not going outside. You're not, I literally did not go outside. I just sat in my room and had food at my desk.
And you're not, which is funny because you're not an unsocial person. Like, in your profession,
I'm not.
Too, you have to be outgoing and sociable and what have you. And so that's funny that you're spending all your time indoors.
Yeah, so now it's like, I just want to have fun. I'm tired of yelling at people. Don't get me wrong, when it comes to competition, like, for me, that's just how I am. So when I do the raids, the, LFG, like, I
just to see if you can crush fools.
Oh God, yeah. I'm here. I'm like I'm mashing buttons.
You're going every cooldown on every single.
And
second.
and then I tell myself, like, okay, so why is it that, like, what went wrong? Like, I'll still do that, and that's just me personally. That's just how I am.
That's kind of cool. Yeah. But you're flashing DPS meters after every pool.
Oh God! I used to do that back in the day with my with my guild, only because at the time, how they would say, like I said, rogues are OP, warlocks are OP.
Yeah, I remember.
Whenever they would do.
There's always a class that was always like.
Yeah.
A super imbalanced, and everybody would get their stick up their butts. Who didn't play that class, and vice versa, and what have you.
But then I would out DPS everybody.
Yeah, no matter what.
So what I would do is, like, you're right. I would spam the the damage meters and tell them, like, look, I know I'm good, but I shouldn't be top DPS.
Not according to.
According to all the changes that they're, everything they did, every single time there was an update. It's like, oh, they nerfed, paladins, now it's warriors or whatever it was at the time. But I'm just excited that I can actually enjoy it and not have to worry and not get messages all day, every night. You're
suddenly not an HR manager also.
Sounds so stressful.
It was. You know what I used to do?
Fun.
You know what I used to do? I would say, you know how you can do /AFK? So I just tell them, like, hey, I'm going AFK for a little bit, but I'm not really AFK.
You're actually enjoying it.
I'm actually, yeah. I'm listening to them talk because they're, we were in Vent. We used to use Vent back then, right? Yeah. Ventrilo. So I would be in Vent just listening to them while I'm just doing my thing or listening to music. And not having to deal with guild drama. And then, say, oh, hey, I'm back. Just after like 5 or 10 minutes of peace.
It's weird, right? But it's like, at the time, I don't want to say it was fun, but you didn't realize how toxic it was until like you're out of it or you outgrow it. But in a weird way, it's like it's kind of part of the fun, yelling at people, and then like not yelling at people, but making the progress, you know what I mean? And seeing it actually pay off, and like, oh shit, all my yelling paid off. Like we actually got past the stupid boss.
Yeah, like I have the mounts from achievements and like the gear and stuff, but when I realized how toxic it was when I think I took like a little break and I gave one of the officers, I basically made him like assistant GM or whatever, and he was running the guild with his wife, and his wife was a boomy.
What does that mean?
She's a boomkin. She was a
boomkin. Okay, that's what I figured.
And she was horrible. Like, she was not...
As a person?
She was... Oh, God. She was like... don't even get me started on that. But...
So, yes.
she wasn't great, but she wasn't horrible either. She was just very... She was odd. Like, she would flirt with guys in the guild. And, like... Yeah. And, but she was not a good player. She wasn't good at all. And because she was, his wife, when they would raid, he'd have her in the raid and give her gear and all that stuff. And so... Oh,
yeah. There you go.
Yeah. And so I come on every once in a while, and then I get bombarded with messages like, why did you give him... Yeah, it's like, why did you do that? Because now she thinks she's, like, leading the guild and all this, Fun times.
Yeah.
Wait, why did this...
We have to have an entire, like, talk just about guild dynamics, because I think you probably... I've been part of guilds too. Like, I think my first when I actually had a previous... Oh, that's what I was going to mention. I had a previous dwarf warrior that I actually was the most active in raiding then. It was my brother who was like an officer in a guild, and he brought me along. But yeah, the whole super strict 40-man. You had to be there, log in at a certain time, have all your pots ready, and make sure you're all ready to go. Like, to a point where it's a second job almost.
Sounds fun.
Oh yeah. So it wasn't. The only reason why it was tolerated, and all of this and all the guild drama too, Michelle, and all of that, is because we had more time back then. We just had time and zero responsibilities to care about anything else besides just being good at this game that we really liked. That was a priority. And so but exactly right. And this is probably another episode in and of itself. It's just, we could talk about like how we started feeling toxic about it early on. You know what I mean? How it started, at least for me personally too, it started like taking up more and more of my time to an unhealthy degree. And, just life being what it is and getting it more complicated, you can see how it like starts taking away from things that are important to you. But with that said, Hedge, I want to talk to, were you ever a hardcore raider or part of a raiding guild, or has your playstyle changed at all? Have you always been kind of more solo?
Yeah, I've always kind of been like that. I always wanted to kind of get into like a real, not where it's like, I mean, I guess nobody really wants to be in like a guild where it's where it's become stressful, but I kind of just wanted to be in like a guild that does raid regularly, but it's not like where the hell are you? Like that kind of thing. So, but yeah, I've always been solo.
So how's the experience changed for you now? Like, because then that's a unique perspective. So for me, it's like I can almost every single time I've taken multiple breaks from the game and come back in every expansion. But for me, it's like it's always under a different set of circumstances. So it's like the first time in vanilla, I was like just kind of messing around, being a terrible hunter for the most part, and then like I rolled that warrior and I was part of a raiding guild, and then I dipped out of raiding for a while, and then me and Michelle started working together and we became friends, and then I joined her guild and was raiding for a little while there too. and then I stopped again and became more of a solo player for years. And now I'm back, and you two are actually playing at the same time as me. So it's kind of like, yay, I have friends playing, but we're all sort of in the same boat. But for you, so it's like, to me, it's like, it's almost like every single time I've stopped and started was like a different chapter, and literally a different chapter in my life too, because I would always start playing that. It always coincided with me moving somewhere or like a different expansion coming around the same time. So, but for you, it's like you've always kind of been a solo player. So what's changed mostly, like for that you? I guess if you've noticed, or if anything at all.
I guess like it's kind of the opposite of what you're saying. Like I'm taking it more seriously now, in the sense that like
you want your time.
I don't know. Like something? Sorry.
You want your time spent to like come out of it.
Yeah, definitely. I think maybe it's because my two older kids are older. I mean, now I have a 2-year-old, so I'm going backwards. But but yeah, like I'm able to sit down and focus more on the game, even though it's like even just saying that, I feel stupid because it's a game. You know, like it goes back to the whole like wasting your life thing.
It is, and it's not. But, like, so I mean, this is probably part of a bigger discussion. It's like the things that we now that we're all grown ups, so to speak, I guess in quotations, like now that we're all adults and grown up and responsible.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Exactly, right? And I think it's part of the thing is like games for us are our hobby, right? The same way that somebody likes to work out or is into fitness or something like that, that's their hobby. Or someone who likes to do something like outdoorsy kayaking or what have you. It scratches like an itch, but it scratches itch like nothing else. But it's like I know what you're saying. It's like it's funny to say that you're taking your game seriously, but it's almost like you're just taking care of the thing that makes you happy seriously. Does that make sense? And that thing could be anything at this point.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
So BFA. So now that we're at the ass end of BFA, where things don't matter, and we kind of talked about this pre-show. It's like normally this is a time where there's the least amount of players ever, and for me, I think there's a good amount of people playing, mostly because I think everybody's still stuck because of quarantine for the most part, and working from home and what have you. So with that said, it's like kind of like a cool active, like there's still stuff that you can do in the game. But for you, Hedge, like as a solo player, what's your priorities now that we're in, like you're not going for long boy, as you said, because you can't sell anything because nobody's buying anything at this point. I myself probably held on to my mats for a little too long, and now I'm just trying to just schlup off stuff on the auction house for as much gold as I can get. But for you, what was I going to say? But for you, what are you focusing on mostly now in BFA? Now that we have like basically are in the dead time and we're just waiting for Shadowlands to drop. Are you doing anything for preparation for Shadowlands?
I guess my main focus is just leveling up alts. Like I've always liked having alts, but now that it's so easy to level, that's my main focus. Just because I feel like I should take advantage of the. What's it called? The Winds of Wisdom?
How many serious alts would you say you have?
Good question. Man.
You want me to come back?
Serious as in you play?
As in your
I guess my Paladin.
So you have your death.
Probably only my Paladin. He's my only other serious one.
Okay. I guess
maybe my Dark Iron Dwarf Hunter, but
I would qualify serious by saying like you would take him through the current expansion, like after your.
Ideally, I want. Okay, so obviously my Death Knight. To me, obviously, because he has the most like highest stats and everything.
Right.
Him, my Paladin, my Dark Iron Dwarf Hunter.
Do we all have Dark Iron Dwarf Hunters, by the way?
Yeah.
So
why don't we play those like all the time together?
I haven't even. I'm like level 30 or something.
probably my gnome mage, which is relatively new. I don't like gnomes. I don't like rogues. Did I say gnome mage? I meant gnome rogue. I don't like gnomes or rogues, but I ended up really liking
a gnome
playing
rogue.
a gnome rogue. Yeah. Like gnomes piss me off just because they're small. All sneaky.
The mechanome is pretty tight.
Do they have cool voice
especially
lines?
For a rogue?
I bet their voice lines are dope.
Really?
Just because they're like they're cool robots.
Yeah, because they have this. I'm not on her right now, but they have it's almost like mirror image for mages.
Whoa, cool.
Yeah.
That's their racial?
It's one of their racials. One of. They have another racial where if you drop down to like 20% health, it's like a battery, like a backup battery.
Wow, cool.
And you get, yeah.
Oh, it's like a heal. It's a
heal. It's a heal. Yeah.
That's cool. And that's cool flavor too. I like the dark. The only allied race I have unlocked so far before the pre-patch. By the way, when pre-patch hits, all of that's just going to unlock basically if you haven't unlocked it already, because all the rest goes away.
The mechanomes, right?
Yeah, so you just have to complete the storylines for all of them up to a certain point. But no, like the dwarf one has it doesn't just like make you not enraged, but like it basically you burst into fire for a little bit and it burns off all the disease, poison, and like not curse, but like the physical things that can happen to you. Diseases and curses will burn off, and it gives you like a little haste boost as well. I forgot what it's called.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But I always forget about racial talents. Like all the time. Like I just forget that I have them sometimes.
Me too.
But yeah, Michelle, are you doing anything for BFA specifically?
So I was, but when knowing how how every expansion is, where you really don't have to do much with the current expansion, I kind of stopped. So I was doing the old, trying to raid, doing mythics and all that stuff.
Right.
But then when I realized that you don't really need to do that right now, I just kind of was like, all right, I'm just going to level my mechanome and whatever the other ones that I have.
Isn't that weird? And I think
the Void Elf and the Dark Iron Dwarf.
Michelle, Hedge, do you have a version of that? Because me and Michelle have always been in have been raiders, right? So we're used to being raid teams, used to waiting for gear, used to always wanting to scale up your gear entirely. But as a solo player, I imagine that doesn't get into too many raids besides like LFRs or what have you. How important is like having ridiculously high gear scores for you, and is that where you find the fun in a game?
Yes and no. Like earlier today, I was doing runs of Ice Crown Citadel, and as I would log on to the player, I would just check their item level, and if it was like below 300 or like at least below 350, I'm like, oh, I don't even know why, because the new expansion's coming out and I don't even know how much it's going to matter, but I just feel like compelled to gear them up more. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you just want to get them past like a certain like level, but
yeah, just like a decent item level. I mean,
gotcha.
But aside from that, I don't really care too much about it other than my main guys.
And I think the point I'm trying to bring up too, Michelle, is like you kind of touched on it a little bit. It's like when you stop caring about stuff like that, like being the top on things or trying to get like like a very specific, I don't know, DPS or something. Well, for you love the DPS game, but for me, it's like it kind of is. I felt a lot of pressure that I felt like I had to do all these things to catch up to everybody else, and I feel like I had to get to a certain gear, and I was like, why am I having to do anything? Like the expansion is going to come out in a couple weeks. All our gear is going to get dropped within the first 3 hours. Like of playing that, it's going to be replaced by green quality, like gear. That's not really important. And so as soon as that became like a thing, and I took the pressure off myself to stop playing that way, with all the catch-up gear mechanics, I just got great gear anyway. Like stuff just started dropping left and right for very minimal, minimal effort on my part, which is kind of cool. But the other thing too was like I started going for like Pathfinder achievements, like kind of like the more I guess that one is kind of like a pretty good goal, just so I could fly around and stuff. But just kind of playing games that were more of my own satisfaction. And again, I think that has to do with having limited amount of time to play. So I kind of wanted to set these little goals for myself instead of just like chasing after. And doing that has made this game way more fun for me. So like for all of BFA, I was like, I want to get the Pathfinder. I'm just into collecting like kind of mounts right now, which is kind of cool. I like the achievement mounts, specifically going for the Horrific Visions one, even though that's a slog. See that to me right now, that's kind of like my do I really want to put myself through this or do I not want to? Because it's the same run all the time. It's repetitive. I hate that I can't just jump in and do one. I have to grind something in order to get something to allow me a opportunity to play that. I hate that like process. That's so stupid. But like I said, it's like I really want to get those achievements and get that. There's a mount associated with it. I don't even know what it looks like. I just want to kind of get it and say that I did. But to get there, I'm just like, is that a good use of my time? Am I going to be happy doing that, or am I going to have more fun like leveling in alt or something like that? So that's kind of like my weird struggle is like trying to, and again, coming down to we're all parents and we don't have a whole lot of time. How do I maximize the fun and time that I have like in this game? How much can I squeeze out of that? But yeah, so well, but that said, like now we're in with Shadowlands just coming through. I think was it October 27th, right? Was it late?
I think so.
Not
26th or 27th.
26th, I think.
26th.
Well,
whatever Tuesday is, right?
Yeah. One day. Well, it's going to be one day for one half of the world, and then the other day for probably the other half of the world. Maybe. I don't even know if it works that way. But that's just going to be saying we're in the first week. Second week of September. So we only have like about 6 weeks left until the new expansion hits. What are you guys looking forward to most? Like right now, I'm trying to level up. Besides my main paladin, trying to get my hunter and then 2 other alts up so I can have one character for each of the covenants that are going to be up. Because apparently the covenant, how you play through the covenants is going to affect like how the game, like different, basically the storyline changes, or you'll get more of the storyline depending on which like covenant you're going through. Like it's a big story, but you get to experience all the parts by having a character in each of the covenants, kind of thing. So that's my main motivation for wanting to get those 4 alts. But is there anything that you're most excited for, Hedge?
Yeah, kind of the same thing. I forgot to mention one of my alts I'm serious about is my warrior, my Worgen warrior.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, just getting
badass.
Like I'm already kind of thinking, which covenant I'm gonna pick for each character, and I know I've heard a lot of like concern about the different, like which covenant is gonna be more powerful. Right.
Yeah, like.
But to me,
I don't care.
No, yeah, to me, I'm like I don't really care. I mean, like. As long as I'm not getting my ass kicked to the point where like I'm not even able to finish a quest because I keep getting killed.
Yes, without.
Otherwise, other than that, I really don't give a shit.
Yeah, I'm right about that. Like I'm there with you about that one. It's like I see a lot of complaining online about just that. Like, if this class is part of this covenant and they get this ability, they're going to be so much more overpowered than.
Right.
The same exact class, but if they took the other covenant abilities. But exactly to your point, like that really only matters to hardcore raiders, right? Like the ones who want to be like world first, the ones who want to be like always pushing ahead. I get that, and that's a big concern. But especially now with how many people playing and how many people just play casually and how many people are just like us, like probably people who played when we're now we gotta mention that too. We're getting older.
Shit, I'm gonna be 30 in like a week, 2 weeks.
I'm gonna be 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I turn 42 next week.
See, we're a nice spread, and we were all playing
42
when we're all like young, hot, and sexy. So this is.
I'm still
hot and sexy. I'm just not young.
I am still young, hot, and sexy.
But anyways, time is linear, Michelle. But like, but with that said, it's like I want to shoot, now I just lost my train of thought because I'm just keep being. But I was gonna say, like for Shadowlands, or I guess, well, yeah. What are you looking forward to most? Are you getting anything specifically ready for Shadowlands? Like, what have you read about it?
Nothing.
Oh,
I don't like to. Okay, so yeah, I'm not.
Are you the kind of person that doesn't watch trailers before a movie comes out?
Okay, no, I am. So I am. I'm like that, and my husband is like, he is not like that. He doesn't like reading about anything, especially if it's something that he wants to watch. He doesn't like to watch trailers or read reviews or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I am like that. And he always he'll say don't you want to be surprised, or don't you want to just watch the movie and enjoy it and come in not knowing, and it's like, yeah, you're right. But every time I read, I'll read, okay, so it's like Game of Thrones. I've seen one season of it, but I know about the whole thing because I read about it.
Oh, yeah. God, you're one of those people.
I'm one of those people.
I just read the synopsis.
Exactly.
I don't have time to watch that shit.
Seriously.
With that said, I've read 10,000 novels.
So that's why, with this, I don't really I'll ask questions and say, hey, do I need to be doing this? Do I need the gear, the eye level, or whatever? And I just kind of want to come in and just experience it.
Makes sense.
I think that's the best way to do it. And I feel like going into most expansions, I always come in that feeling of I got to gear up, I got to do stuff. I remember the first time I played through BFA, when it first came out as a Horde character, I actually made it a point to read through all the quest texts. You guys ever done that? You ever read through it?
Yep.
I used to.
I don't know if it's better or not. I kind of just, it's the filler quests I don't care about. They don't when if it's some gnome that's asking me to go kill some crabs, I'm just I don't really need to read this. This is dumb. But yeah, let me ask you that too, because I'm really looking for. Have you guys seen this Shadowlands animated shorts at all?
Yeah, I really like them.
I think I've only seen one.
So there's the new one came out, I think, either today. I think
today, right?
Yeah. And so there's 3 total. There's the first one is the Bastion, for the Zone Bastion, and they're kind of angelic beings, right? And they're kind of, I think the Valkyr are supposed to be modeled after them. They're what the Titans, or part of the lore or something, is
You're right.
They saw what the Bastion, the Kyrian people, the race that is native to Bastions, the blue angel-like people. They had that animated short first. The second one is the Maldraxxus, the more military Scourge. They look like the Scourge and the Undead.
The Necrolords. Or whatever they're called.
And then today's was basically the Ardenweald, the druids,
the Night Fae,
the more natural form. But I don't know if you noticed. So the first one had Uther in it. Did you see that? Did you watch it on the show? You didn't, right?
I think I may have seen that one.
Dude, that one has Uther the Lightbringer in it, and Arthas. That's awesome. Yeah, that's the best one out of all the 3 of them. I think that was the coolest one, because it actually told. It wasn't just oh cool, it's characters we know, but it actually told a really good story and kind of leading into
another side.
Yeah, super intriguing. I'm all in on that one. But so to me it feels because it's Uther and they're talking about Arthas, it's maybe if you're a paladin, you should probably have a character in there. It'll make sense for you to have a paladin.
A priest.
And then on the Maldraxxus one, when they're talking about, I don't know if you guys seen that one, but Maldraxxus is the main character point of view there is, because so these are all characters that have died on Azeroth and have come to the Shadowlands, and to their next life. And so this one is talking about Thrall's mom, Draka, who died, I think, after giving birth. Or I think she was murdered after giving birth to Thrall. But so she's in Maldraxxus, and she's a rogue. So because she's stealthing throughout the entire animated short. So I think you're supposed to be a rogue and be joining Maldraxxus. And then this most latest one, it was a druid who died, and they do the whole story for Ardenweald. And so it's like, I think if you're a druid, you should probably like it. I think thematically makes sense, and it doesn't do one for every single class. Obviously, like I don't know if there's one that's specific to like what a monk would feel most at home at, or a priest necessarily, or a warlock. But it feels to me, so that's kind of like I want to see if I can match those real quick. So I'll do like a pirate rogue for the Maldraxxus one as an alt maybe. But yeah, what do you? Is there, Michelle? You have no idea what's happening in Shadowlands at all?
No.
Okay. Do you know about the pre-patch that's coming up?
Yes, that I'm pretty sure, right? If you pre-ordered it, you can. There's like.
Oh no, this is affecting everybody regardless. So anybody who's playing WoW, they're gonna have the and it's usually in the pre-patch. I'm sorry, the pre-expansion patch. They usually have like events that will lead up. Like I remember when Wrath of Lich King came out, like towards the end of BC, they had like Scourge invasions of Orgrimmar and Stormwind. There was like ice dragons that were invading every like hour or something. Do you remember that, Michelle? That was cool. Yeah. And then like Cataclysm coming out, there's like the earth would there'd be earthquakes towards the end of it. But this one is significant because this is supposed to be setting up Shadowlands. But they're also doing a whole thing about like all the talents, basically the new talent trees or the new way that talents work are going to be applied on this pre-patch going into Shadowlands. Does that make sense? So basically all our talents will be changing for all our existing characters. So yeah, I don't know, how do you guys feel about that? Because this happens a lot. Like, when we were playing vanilla, you used to have a legit talent tree that you had to put points into. Now it's like it's completely different. So how do you guys feel about like when abilities come back or disappear and then come back and your rotations change and what have you?
I don't like it.
I don't like it either. It's confusing.
It makes me nervous.
It's like I don't understand what's the point?
Well, they have to add something new, to something that you're doing. Or else, what's the point of having an expansion, right? Because it's like you're supposed to have new powers, or you can't be doing the same thing all the time. But with that said, have you guys ever stopped playing a character because they did too many changes, like between expansions?
Oh no,
because I have. I stopped. When I used to play a shaman, between Cataclysm and Mist, shaman could drop 4 totems at once. They were all different totems.
Yes, I remember that.
Then they made a huge change where they could only drop 1 totem at a time, and all the totems got reworked, so they didn't do the same things anymore. And I was like, I'm done. I hate playing this character now because it was fun dropping 4 totems that did 4 different things. That was part of the cool shit. Yeah. Did you
know the funny thing about that is I have a Dark Iron shaman, and I was looking for that specific
button?
That button. I was like, where's the button to drop all 4?
And it was gone. Because they don't exist anymore. Anyways,
yeah, I thought it was pretty funny.
So yeah, that should pretty much cover our first episode. Any parting thoughts before we go? Hedge, is there any wisdom you want to imply to anybody, or anything you want to get off your chest?
You should start leveling your alt. No.
Yeah, I think I need to calm down on my alts. Like, I feel like instead of having like one dude that has like everything, I have all these different guys that are like a tenth of what they could be as far as like the character's potential. God. Which I don't know. It's like it's good and bad, I guess.
Well,
depends how you look at it.
Why don't we challenge ourselves to the 4 alt challenge, the 4 character challenge? Focus on the 4 that you're gonna. So you got your DK already. You got your paladin, most likely, right? Warrior. All plate wearers, by the way. That's weird.
Yeah,
not weird. I guess that makes sense. And then a 4th alt, and then have them ready for covenant. That way,
on the road.
Boom! Right there, you're focused. What about you?
Yeah.
Are you going to do a 4 alt challenge as well?
I don't know. So what? I have my mage, I have my paladin, I have a druid, I have the priest,
You
and
have
then
a warlock too that you like.
I have a warlock that I really love, and then my mechanome that I'm having fun with.
Jesus.
The hunter's really fun. So is the shaman.
Oh man.
So I don't.
Good luck, dude. So you
Yeah,
know,
I don't even
you know
know.
why we're doing 4 though, right? Like specifically.
Oh no, I know.
Seven,
I kind of got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just because the game Shadowlands is going to be split up into 4 different things, and like apparently for everything that I've read that you haven't read yet, it's like it's a big, huge story, but then it's like you get to see the entire story by. It's like you could watch all the Marvel, just the Avengers Marvel movies, and kind of get like a sense of the overall story. But in this case,
Yeah.
it's different from if you just sat and watched every single thing and you saw all the different details. So that's kind of what we're aiming at too. Cool. But yeah, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this first episode. Join us next time because there's probably going to be an episode 2 and we'll have different stuff to talk about. Do you guys stream at all? I stream. If you guys want to catch me at twitch.tv, right? /Ramen Pile Driver. Ramen_Pile Driver.
I'll probably start sometime soon.
Yes. Michelle's going to start sometime soon. What about you, Hedge?
Soon.
Or can we just all catch you guys here?
Probably be here. I don't think I'll probably be like, yeah, I'll do it, and then just never do it.
Yeah.
Like most things.
All right, then. Well, at this point, we're going to have a regular sign-off. But I'll just play you guys out with the air going, wow, wow, closing riff. All right, guys. I'll see you guys next time.
See you later.
See ya.
Wow.